Hello everybody, my name is Dylong and today we're back with a brand new video, and I know I'm sorry I skipped another Saturday story time. I haven't really been home much due to unforeseen circumstances, as I explained in the Respawn Recruits final video, but I promise I'm going to make it up to you today with a banger story. And this story is so crazy, it's not even going to fit into one video. This is going to be a multi-episode situation. This is a story of how me and my girlfriend ended up together, and this is anything but typical. How this all happened, it involves so much I can't really even highlight it, so let's just get right into it. This part of the story is going to contain how we met, our first phone conversation, and our very first date. So let's rewind back to 2023 and transport to the magical world of Hinge. Shout out Hinge, because I definitely can say now that I found my forever person. And you're probably thinking the first Hinge story you had on there was horrible, so what makes this any different? Trust me, I don't understand it, and neither does she. But let's begin. It started one night when I was getting ready to leave work. I didn't have much to do, and I was at my desk scrolling on Hinge. At this point, there were a few girls I was talking to, but I wasn't tied down, so I was casting a wide net. Just having fun. I was in a relationship for 5 miserable years, so I wanted to be a bit more picky this time before settling down with somebody, but I knew I was ready for another relationship. I was talking to this girl named Jane for a few days. That's not her real name, and obviously every name in this story is going to be different because I don't want to dox anybody. So Jane, the therapist, she was a children's case manager slash therapist in the training, I think. My memory is a little bit fuzzy around that time. Anyways, we were talking a lot more, a lot of phone calls, texting for the majority of the day, but in the meantime, I was looking on Hinge because why not? And that night, I came across my girlfriend. I'm just going to call her Kay. I'm trying my best to keep her stuff hidden because she's a school teacher and she lives a normal life, and I don't want her involved in this weird little universe I got going on over here, but she is very supportive of the videos, and I love her dearly for that. So that night, I saw Kay's profile on Hinge, and I accidentally swiped left, meaning I was not interested. But there was nothing I could do about it, so I kept scrolling, until I got an ad for unlimited swipes and redos, meaning that you can undo a swipe if you paid the subscription. I'm not sure if that was fate letting me know that I made a mistake, but I bought the subscription for $40. You can call that robbery, and it probably was, but at least I got something out of it. And I always joke with Kay that I paid for her, and out of context, that sounds horrible. So I undid the swipe and swiped right on her. The thing about Hinge is you can't message until it's a match, so when I saw she accepted the swipe, I immediately hit her up with a smooth hi. I don't quite remember the conversations. I know she has them on her phone. But after texting for a few days, we had our first official phone call, or FaceTime, and that was a train wreck. The call started fine. We were talking about our day, and then it transcended into a shit show on both ends. I started talking about myself and the stupid shit I do with my friends while she sat in complete silence. Now knowing that she had a friend next to her to coach her through the call, and that coaching did about as much as a lifeguard at a hotel pool. I can't knock her friend at all though, because she took a crazy one for the team and is actually a huge reason why me and Kay are even together. So back to the phone call, I'm just listing off cringy things I do for literally no reason. It's like my mind is just firing off things to say, and from a different perspective, I should have just put myself in the cringe coffin right then and there. And after 25 minutes of brain-rotting one-sided conversation, I finally decided that this wasn't going anywhere, and I tell her my phone's gonna die. Even though it's well over 70%, I just had to do us both justice and put a stop to this misery. We said goodnight, and that was that. Miraculously, we kept texting the next few days, and she decides to invite me out with her two friends, Ray and Carly. It was decided by then that we would go mini-golfing the following Saturday night. And throughout the whole week, I was panicking because I was way more into talking with Jane. We were having phone call after phone call, texting for hours, and I, for the most part, really wanted to meet this girl. I knew I wasn't hurting anyone because I was single and free, but at the same time, I felt like I was doing something wrong and would be upsetting someone, even though I had no ties to anybody. Saturday finally rolls around, and I'm out all day getting my uniform ready because I had baseball the next day. And while I'm shopping, what am I doing? I'm on the phone with Jane. We had been on the phone for hours when it was time to go to baseball practice with the boys, which is just what I needed because I really didn't know what to do up at this point. I met up with Chubbs and Stino, the homies. Stino was actually featured in a whole Fortnite episode somewhere on my archive channel if you want to go look for him. So I met up with them, and while we were practicing, I'm explaining I don't really know what to do. Stino suggested that I just see them both, which is easier for him to say because at the time, he was probably seeing 7 different girls. It was easy for him, but I was never really into doing stuff like that, especially because I never had multiple girls actually interested in wanting to meet me. Stino then suggested that if I didn't want to go, he would go in my place and I'll just let Kay know that I was sick and didn't want to leave her hanging without somebody there. I won't lie, I really thought about it, and when I got home and it was time to get ready for the date, I decided at the last minute that I would go, but just give her clear signs that I really only want to be friends. And what better way to say I'm not pursuing you romantically by showing up a legit hour late? And the reason being that there was a car accident and I was stuck on the freeway, which is what I told her. What actually happened is I got ready to meet her at 7, and she lives in a town about 15 minutes away from me. So I figured I had time. What I didn't know and what I didn't bother to check is that they picked a mini golf course 40 minutes from me. To this day, I don't know why it was picked, but I'll get over it eventually. So I mosey onto the freeway and I drive down for about 15 minutes when I realize I left the garage door at my house open. And with how bad crime is here, I couldn't leave it. So I got off the freeway and went all the way home, closed the garage and got back on the freeway, only to hit bad Saturday night traffic. I got to the mini golf course right about 8, and they had been waiting for me for about an hour, and I felt terrible, only then to find out that we only had an hour because the mini golf course closed at 9. Shitty of me, right? It is. Anyways, as I'm getting out of the car, I spray one last spritz of cologne and remind myself, be friendly, but not flirty. And all bets were off when I met her. She was beautiful. A little taller than I imagined, which was never really my thing, but with her, I was fine with it. She walked up to me and gave me a hug, and I'm glad she turned around quick because I feel like I had some goofy animated smile on my face because, as weird as it sounds, I didn't want her to let go. But I had to settle down. I met this girl 30 seconds ago, and I knew the objective I had, not to get interested. It was so awkward because we got to the gate to get into the mini golf course, and they didn't take card, and I didn't have cash. So this guy that I met 30 seconds ago was already paying for me, and I probably just looked like a broke idiot. By the way, what did I tell Jane? Oh, I told her I couldn't talk that night because I was going to a homie's house to move furniture. At 8 o'clock at night, I'm going to move furniture. But she didn't question me, partially because she was really sick and on the brink of going to a hospital, which with what I remember, I think it was pneumonia. Anyways, we played mini golf and listened to music. Ray, one of the guys that was there, brought a speaker for some odd reason and a pocket knife, which I'm assuming was in case I turned out to be a total creep. After mini golf was over and I won by a whole lot, but who's really counting, I was ready to go home. Thought it was fun, but we could wrap it up here. Kay then mentions to me that we should all go to a bar. And I'm not the drinking or clubbing type, never have been, never will be, but against my better judgment, I looked into her beautiful eyes and I immediately felt like I needed to say yes. Kay, Ray, and Carly came in one car and I came in mine, so they gave me the address to the bar to meet them, and as I'm walking in my car, Kay starts following me, which I find very strange, and she says she wants to go with me. And I start freaking out, I'm gonna be honest, because I don't want to be alone with this girl. I don't want to come off as flirting, but I also don't want to be rude, so I just say cool. I open the car door for her and let her in, and off we go. And once we get on the freeway, the conversation's going okay, a little bit better than the phone call, but I noticed that I have no clue where I'm going, and I didn't want to look like a lost, confused idiot, so I just kept aimlessly driving in the direction I thought was the right one. And I keep glancing at her out of the corner of my eye, and I can tell she's getting nervous, like, oh, this guy's gonna take me to the opposite way. Why did I do this? He's gonna kill me. I calm all these nerves by saying, you shouldn't have gotten into the car, with a wicked smile on my face. I'm totally kidding, I promise. But I did ask her for directions because I felt like this was starting to look a certain way, a little bit odd. We finally get to the bar and security is checking at the door, and Ray realizes that he has that knife in his pocket, but he had nowhere to put it because they parked their car at Kay's house, which was just up the road from the bar, and they walked to the bar. So what did he do? He put the blade in a planter in the plant next to the bar. And to this day, we were drunk enough, I don't know if he ever got the blade, but I'll never get the chance to ask him because later on in this story, not in this episode, but he does some fucked up things to Carly that we won't get into now, like I said, but in the next episode for sure. We get into the bar and Kay and Carly ask if we want to go to the floor and dance. I don't dance by any means, but again, looking at her, I felt almost hypnotized and said yes. I know it sounds cliche, I know, but we get to the dance floor and I dance as best as I could while continuously throwing back drinks to try to loosen up, and after the first few drinks, we went to go outside for some fresh air. I won't lie, the liquor was hitting me a little bit as I haven't really drinking that much up until that point. I drank a lot in my apartment, but it had been a while. Once we get outside and start playing a game of, it was a would you rather type game, I don't remember, it was on somebody's phone, but it was just, I think, to get to know each other a little bit more. I was pretty drunk at this point, but I remember the dare for Kay was to hold my hand, and without skipping a beat, she held it. And drunk or not, it just felt different. Caterpillars were becoming butterflies in my stomach with what I was feeling right then and there. And it was fine. And the funny thing is, after her turn had passed and multiple turns had gone by, she hadn't let go of my hand, which was fine with me. I really didn't want her to. At this point, it was about 2:30 in the morning and I'm feeling it. My face is red, I'm seeing stars, and I smelled something bomb. There was a taco stand just behind our table that I hadn't even noticed that I guess had been there the entire time. And I don't know if it was me being hammered, but those quesadillas were the best I've ever had. I tipped the dude like $10 on top of the $12 I paid for a 4-piece quesadilla, but I was drunk and didn't care, and I was happy and full. After this, we go back into the club and I run into a guy who's just a little bit drunker than me. And he asks us if we want to play rock, paper, scissors, the loser by drinks. Ray lost 2 out of 3, so he bought the next round for me and my newfound drunken brother. And we head back to the dance floor and we dance a little more, and the club starts closing down. At this point, it's about 3:30 in the morning, so we're walking out of the bar and start contemplating how we're all going to get home. Kay, Ray, and Carly and myself were way too drunk to drive, and Kay and Carly were too drunk to even walk, so I took one for the team, and I got behind the wheel. Just a quick message, a quick PSA. Don't ever do what I did. It is reckless and not worth it, and I haven't done that since, and I never did that up to that point, and I'm lucky nothing bad came out of it. But I drove about 3 blocks and we were already at her house. It really was not far. Kay told me to park at the edge of the street, and Carly drunkenly said Kay's house is 2 more houses down. And I pulled up and dropped them off, and Kay was so mad because she wanted me to drop her off at the edge of the street because she didn't want me to know where she lived, which is a fair point. I mean, I could still be some creepy weirdo, weird dessert gamer loving weirdo. Oh wait. So anyways, I said my goodbyes, or said something along those lines. I was slurring like no other, and I started to drive home, and something hit me. I'm so unbelievably hammered at this point, and this is not even my vehicle. My car was at home. I was drunk driving my dad's car. So I blasted the AC, threw on a haunted podcast, and slowly drove surface streets home. There was no way in hell I was going to take the freeway, and I got one street from my house, and I get to the light, and a cop pulls up next to me, and I just stare, straight stone-faced, not giving him a single look. I was doing fine, and then the light turned green, and what did I do? I fucking looked at him, smiled, gave him a thumbs up before driving away. The fact he didn't pull my goofy ass over is alarming. I would have been the easiest arrest of his career, I guarantee it. And after what felt like forever, I finally arrive home and go right upstairs, only for the first time in my life, I threw up all over the corner of my room from alcohol. And I fucking left it there till morning. After I threw up, I got right on my phone and I texted Jane. I don't think this is gonna work out between us and that I don't have any interest in meeting her until I work on my mental health. I lied to a therapist about mental health just because at this point I realized I really wanted to pursue things with Kay after the amazing night that I had. Do I think she believed it? No. Did I ghost her completely after that, not saying a single thing after that? Yes. Did she try contacting me multiple times? Yes. And I just left her on red, ignored her calls, and I do feel bad about that, but it is what it is. I'm happy. I hope she's happy. I went to take a shower to try and sober up, and Kay texted me saying she had fun, and I told her she looked beautiful. She called me handsome, and I was laying on the bathroom floor with vomit on my face, kicking my feet up like a little girl reading these messages. Also, who texted me? Sue, my ex-girlfriend, saying, "Hi, how's your night?" Pathetic. Anyways, I finally get into my room after I shower, only to find a king-size Kit Kat on the pillow, and I figured I threw up enough to make room, so I ate that shit so fast, and then finally, I fall asleep at around 5:30, 6 a.m., only to be woken up at 7, because I had baseball at 8:30. I woke up, still clearly drunk, and drunk enough to where when I went downstairs, my mom could easily tell, and by the throw up in the corner of my room, she rightfully scolded me about the dangers of drinking and driving, but was happy I had fun. Went to my baseball game, hungover as no other, no water in me, 90-degree weather, and we still won. So, all's well that ends well. This was the episode of how I met her, our first call, our first date. The next episode is going to be our first kiss, our worst date, and I appreciate you all for listening. This has been Dylong. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.